Good evening and welcome to Back to School Night. This is U.S. History 2. I am Mr. Vanderhoof. Mr. Balaban will be joining us shortly to kind of go over some other stuff for this class. Just to briefly introduce myself, this is my ninth year teaching at Rutherford High School. This is my ninth year teaching this particular class, and my fifth year co-teaching this class with Mr. Balaban. A little kind of background on myself. I went to Rutgers University, New Brunswick for both my master's and my undergraduate, and I just recently finished another master's at Rutgers Newark for political science. I also coach here. I coach girls freshman basketball as well as JV baseball. So what we're going to look at here a little bit, Mr. Balaban will introduce himself in a second. Want to kind of go over the basics of this particular class, kind of things that we're going to be using this year, discussing, etc. So the first thing we'll talk about is the major themes of this unit. On the previous slide, and Mr. Balaban will get more into the details of like unit structure, but our focus of this class is going to be from 1945 to as close to the modern day as we can, but it's really kind of focusing on the Cold War. But the first theme we'll be talking about is America as a superpower, the emergence as such following World War II. We'll kind of be discussing the influence of the United States throughout the world and how that kind of evolved pre-World War II to post-World War II and today. A major theme for this class and kind of the history of everything is kind of wrapped around the Cold War. So we'll be discussing our policies and actions towards the Soviet Union and looking for historical comparisons today, as well as those we've seen in the past. Kind of within the same vein, we'll be discussing concepts of interventionism versus isolationism. The U.S. is getting involved in a variety of different conflicts throughout the course of the Cold War, as well as so today. And a key aspect of this throughout this course is talking about the importance of history to use as a parallel to today. So we are going to be talking about a lot of current events, and we want to look at them in the context of how they relate to the historical analysis that we're going to be doing over the course of this year. Federal power versus states' rights. It's a key concept of the civil rights movement, and it's a key concept of a lot of the issues that we face today. How much power should the federal government have versus how much power should states have over a variety of different issues? So we'll be discussing that kind of at length in regards to how they fit, how this topic fits into the grander scheme of the units we're talking about, and issues of race relations, the fight to overcome America's troubled past. We'll be looking at a lot of issues. We'll be spending a lot of time looking at the civil rights movement, and we'll look for context and comparisons to issues that are coming out in the news today. So we'll be able to kind of bring about current issues and relate them to things that we'll be discussing in context throughout this year. So Mr. Balaban is going to pop in and he'll kind of introduce himself. If you need anything, my email is on my Google Classroom account, avanderhoof@rutherfordschools.org. Please feel free to reach out. And without further ado, here's Mr. Balaban.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to see you all at Back to School Night. My name is Dan Balaban, and I will be co-teaching this class throughout the year with Mr. Vanderhoof. Very excited for the class. Mr. Vanderhoof and I have a great track record of teaching this class. We've been doing this now for many years, and each year we try to infuse something a bit new into how we teach the class. A big goal of the course is to always try to make modern history relevant to the present day. So usually when something of significance happens in the news, we will try to find something in modern history to relate it back to. And that's part of what we do. We want the students to have a grasp of, how historical concepts and themes and events and people and policies can still be seen today in similar ways and also in ways that are a bit different. So in terms of the units of study in this class, we always start the year by initially reviewing how World War II ended. This class covers the years 1945 through 2020. So we always begin by talking about the circumstances that gave rise to post-World War II America. That's kind of where we are at right now in this class. Once that topic is done, from there, we begin talking about the early days of the Cold War. So we talk about the years 1945 to 1960. Within this time frame, we learn about important moments and events such as the Marshall Plan and the Truman Doctrine and the Korean War and the Chinese Civil War and a variety of other, you know, momentous occasions in the first 15 years of the Cold War. From there, we move into learning about the years 1945 to 1960 once again, but not from an international Cold War perspective, but rather from a domestic perspective. So we learn about how the GI Bill changed daily life in America. We learn about how suburban growth was seen across the country and how that really changed also daily life for many American citizens. We talk about the Kennedy administration next. We spend a good amount of time learning about the years 1960 to 1963. We always teach the students that although John F. Kennedy was only in office, from January of 61 through November of 63, in that short amount of time, the world experienced phenomenal change. I mean, Kennedy had to deal with, the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis and the building of the Berlin Wall, while also dealing with, the southern United States, having serious issues with segregation and Jim Crow. And we learn about all vantage points there. We do, to build on that, a whole unit on the civil rights movement. We spend usually 6 to 8 weeks on this topic. And again, we relate this topic to modern day issues before going into the Vietnam War years. The Vietnam War is also a significant portion of this class. We cover the war from all angles. And again, that's usually a 6 to 8 week time frame that we learn about that. Towards the end of the third marking period and the fourth marking period, we eventually get into the presidencies of Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. We spent a lot of time learning about the positive contributions that Richard Nixon made to the national landscape, as well as, the consequences of his decisions during the Watergate scandal. And we have usually a great debate on the lasting legacy of Richard Nixon. Again, Mr. Vanderhoof and I are never infusing our own opinions there. We don't view that as our goal at all. Instead, we kind of prompt debate and discussion from the students. We always finish the year with the more modern presidencies, beginning with Jimmy Carter. And by the time May and June come, we should be able to learn about the presidencies of Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and hopefully President Obama and President Trump as well. We just have to see, how kind of the pacing of the school year goes. But I know for a fact that I'm looking forward to a great year. Mr. Vanderhoof, I'm sure, is also excited for a great year, and it should be fun. So you can reach me at dbalaban at rutherfordschools.org. And Mr. Vanderhoof, did you want to jump back in for a second here?
No. Okay. As Mr. Balaban said before, he really kind of covered everything we're going to be doing this year. So please feel free to reach out, have any of your students reach out and let us know if they have any questions or you have any questions with anything that we discussed today. If not, hopefully you guys have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your back to school night. And, good luck with everything the rest of the year.